Hello, Advanced Health. Hopefully you've had some time off and a few good days. I figured we would finish our notes digitally so we don't need to do them in class and hopefully save you a little time. So let's get into this. If you remember, we were talking about what health looks like. And I asked you to pick out the healthiest individuals up here. And that is as far as I believe, as far as we got. So with this, the whole point of it, it's a trick question. And the trick I'm trying to get you to engage in is that you can't tell somebody's health by looking at them. It's a bit of a myth that, physical wellness is the only thing that people pay attention to. So given this guy or this guy, we can just say, look, they're a physical specimen, they look great, they're fit, they're an Olympic athlete, and we can tell a lot about their health. But in reality, it's a trick question. You can't. You can make some assumptions. They probably have pretty good physical health, but not always. So let's look at it in a different way. I'm going to come back to this slide. So if we look at different situations of people, that's another way to help or help you understand these concepts. So it's not just physical health. There's a lot more things going on. And it helps if you look at somebody's whole picture and to better understand. Now, again, I'm lying to you. These images I Googled, I made up stories about them. They're totally false. But just take a minute to look at them and see if you can figure out, instead of maybe who the healthiest is, but rather the pros and cons of their lives and what their benefits and drawbacks to health are. So this is a more helpful way to look at it, but again, we can't tell everything just from these little snippets. So when it comes to health, it's a state of complete well-being made up of various components of wellness. So we call these wellness dimensions. Okay? A lot of people think of health as a checkbox. You're either checking it, yes, I am healthy, or no, I'm not so healthy, right? But it's a lot more complicated. It's a continuum, right? It's a status that you fall somewhere in between poor and really, really well. And the point of this class is to get you to be able to see your strengths and weaknesses and get you into that really, really well health. Okay? So it's different for everybody. So consider these questions for a moment. Does being fit necessarily mean someone is healthy? Can you tell somebody's health just by looking at them? What about lack of ability? Does that mean someone is unhealthy? Maybe they're wheelchair bound or something like that. And then what does it even mean to be healthy? I'll give you a moment just to think about some of these questions. Now, normally in class, we would discuss these and take some time, but we're going to speed the process up. There is a link to What is Wellness below, if you wouldn't mind reading that following this video to help you better understand. But I think I'm going to move forward and get into this. So, again, when we talk about health, it's better to see the whole picture. And how we see the whole picture is something called wellness. And what wellness is, it's the ability to balance aspects of life. In other words, those domains of life, and we'll get into the picture in just a minute. So for the purposes of our class and where youth is at right now, especially for Byron High School, we have 9 different categories, and we call these health domains or wellness domains. They're different for everyone, right? Compared to your best friend or your parents or siblings, it's going to look a little different depending on who you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are. Everyone is very diverse in that way. And again, it's a continuum. It changes. It fluctuates. It goes up. It goes down. It improves. It declines. A lot of different things can happen. If you look at different universities and different colleges and different organizations, they all have different types of wellness wheels. Here's just a few examples to show you that the ones that we're going to show you are just basically what we've come up with for Byron High School. That this wellness wheel is actually custom to our needs. It's modeled after a Winona State wheel, but we changed a few things around. And this one is custom to you. So as you can see, these are the domains that we focus on, right? These are all different things, but put them together and balance them out, and that's what health basically is. So I'm going to take a moment and just go through a little bit more of them and explain them a little bit more in detail, but just take a look at these 9 different areas and think about what they mean. You've probably made some thoughts, maybe jumped ahead a little bit, but let's get let's get into this. So think about it this way. Take this and imagine your life as a wheel, right? And if you've ever had a flat tire, it's not so fun, right? A lot of things can be problematic. It can cause a wreck. It's not fun to ride in. It can cause you to not reach your destination. Same thing with this wellness wheel. If you have all of these strengths but a bunch of flat spots, or even one major flat spot that isn't in balance with the rest, it's not going to be as well of a smooth and balanced ride as you would like. So let's break down these areas a little bit more. What social wellness is, it's not how many friends you have. It's not Instagram or likes or anything like that. It's rather all about relationships. It's trust, it's communication, it's surrounding yourself with good people and being, in turn, good to them. It's how we relate to others, it's how we connect, and it's who we surround ourselves with. In class, I'll talk a lot about we are what we repeatedly do, but also we are who we surround ourselves with. So it's important to keep this in perspective, and because social wellness is such a big part of who we are as people. The next one is spiritual. As a definition, it's to identify purpose and meaning in life. It involves feeling of connection, fulfillment. It's often associated with religion, but not necessarily. What it breaks down to is meaning, purpose, and values. It's peace and harmony, and it's feeling connected to something greater. And the reason I say it's not just religion is because people are so diverse and they find their own means of spiritual wellness. Again, it looks different for everyone, but for many people it is religion. Emotional wellness is being attentive to your thoughts, your feelings, attitudes, and beliefs in a way which is productive, true, and beneficial. That's a long-winded way of saying, are you aware of the way you feel and the reasons why you feel? And being okay with that. Can you express those in a healthy way? We know too many people that can't express their emotions or bottle them up, or people that kind of fly off the handle. They can't control their emotions that way. So we have to understand why we feel the way we do and where that's coming from, but also to be able to control it and communicate it in ways that are healthy. It's important that we understand that emotional wellness is something no one can escape, no matter, because there is a stigma that, you know, tough guys or tough girls, they can't be emotional, they can't let their emotions show, but that's just the opposite. People that are emotionally strong and emotionally well can get their emotions across in a way which is beneficial for others as well, and it builds empathy. We'll talk about that more later on. This one is intellectual wellness. It's not how smart you are, it's not your GPA. Those things might be beneficial to this, but this is really about problem solving, because life is always a puzzle. There's always things to figure out, decisions to be made, and understanding your intellectual wellness means understanding your choices and your consequences from choices, making the best of your situations and problem solving. It's wittiness, it's depth, and of course it's being open to new ideas, new experiences, and finding, and just basically loving learning. Is really what it equates to. Again, it's not your grades, it's not your GPA, it's your problem solving. We've probably heard of book smarts and street smarts. Well, there's all kinds of different smarts, and we'll explore these as we go on. This one is physical. This is the first one that people probably think of when it comes to health. This is all aspects of the body, including fitness, diet, sleep, and the immune system. It's not just how strong or how fast you are. It's a lot more to do with that. In fact, one of the biggest components is, in fact, sleep, and people always negate sleep and the importance of it, especially at our age. Body, nutrition, fitness, yes, it's all good. This is a conscious effort, more so than all the others. This is one that requires probably the most upkeep. Okay, you can't just work out and have a good diet for, one weekend and expect that to carry throughout life. It doesn't work that way. You need to constantly be taking care of yourself, right? Occupational. Students have an occupation. They are students. Okay, it is a full-time job. You guys have to come to school 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day. And the point of that being is that it's supposed to help you. It's supposed to give you a purpose. It's supposed to mean something to you. And the sad truth is a lot of students are alienated by school. They don't feel that way. So the fact of it is that we try to make something better of ourselves through our occupation. If I was a teacher and I didn't like my job, I would have poor occupational wellness, and that would bring everyone else down as well. But I love my job, right? So even though you're students and it's not always the most fun thing right now, can you find a purpose in it? Can you find a way to improve yourself? Can you find meaning from it? And understand, of course, it's a balance, right? You can't just work all the time. You need some fun. Hopefully your 4-day break here is pretty good for you. It's been good for me. but also you can't just take all your leisure time, right? You can't just not work at all. So it's finding a balance, and being happy with that balance is what occupational wellness is all about. And of course it does talk about your skills that you build, and of course the finances, all that stuff, but not as important. It's more about your purpose. Okay, environmental health. This is to connect with the earth, other beings, to practice techniques which are sustainable and help the planet. It's awareness, it's advocacy, and again, this is a conscious effort. Many people aren't aware of this and how the environment impacts their health, but also how we impact the environment. And so a big piece of our health is understanding that we have this connection. We have to take care of it. And being aware of that impact is very important. Digital wellness. Okay. In the past 30 years, our society's changed a lot, right? Our gratification, how we think of ourselves, how we promote ourselves, all these things are changing very rapidly. And this has had an impact on our health. People like to think that social media is mostly negative. Not entirely, but it does have some drawbacks, right? So when it comes to digital wellness, this is both a skill and a vulnerability. You probably know somebody that spends too much time online, that kind of loses social skills as a result. They get too tied up in this. But it's also important that you can navigate the internet safely. You can build a resume online. You can create works and e-portfolios and all of these things, and do so in a balanced and healthy way. Sexual wellness is the sense of comfortability with one's sexuality, the awareness of healthy physical expression and safety. It's understanding one's body, one's preferences, understanding about if they're engaging, their partner. It's consent. Okay, it's not a number. It's not how many people you've been with, or boyfriends or girlfriends you've had, or anything like that. It's not a number. It's more so a level of understanding yourself and other people. And again, if there's one thing you're going to learn in this class, it's all about consent. We're going to talk more about that later on. Excuse me. And it's very important. Okay. For many teens, it's developing right now, and being able to practice safe sexual practices that are sustainable are a good thing. Obviously, we need that. So we'll talk more about that, but here is the snippet. Okay. One thing to note is that all of these areas, I'm going to go back to the beginning here, all of these interact with each other. They all overlap in some way, right? And so it's important to understand that maybe these four are really strong for you, right? But if these two are pretty weak, your life isn't going to be as whole and as healthy as it should be. And so you have to be connected to all these areas, even just a bit, right? And hopefully you grow outwards and you improve these things and get more balance with them, okay? Now, I'm going to pose a question, and I want to give you a minute to think about this before I continue. But thinking about strengths as a weakness. In many ways, our strength can actually hurt us, or it can take away from other areas. So think for a minute about which one might be your strongest area, and think about how, if it's too overdeveloped, it could actually be a weakness. Okay, good. I'll give you an example. I know many people that have very strong physical wellness, but it also takes away from their social. They kind of get wrapped up in their own ego and their own self, and they remove part of their social wellness just to focus on themselves and not be there when others need them. They can also develop eating disorders, which can in turn, because they're not, they lose their emotional wellness because they're so wrapped up in what they look like, they forget to just be okay with their self sometimes, and they develop eating disorders and body image disorders, and they end up hurting their own physical wellness by working on it too much. Okay, let's go again with emotional. Like I said, we all know somebody who might be over emotional, right? Or they might want to know how everyone else is doing, and they kind of play lifeguard, and then they don't take care of their own needs, and that can be a problem too. So all of these can have strengths that are actually weaknesses. So again, that's what it comes down to, balance. You don't want one of these to be sticking out way, way too far, because the rest are going to be hindered as well. Okay. Just briefly, before we get into the assignment, I'm going to just talk about the other terms that relate to this unit. And there we go. Okay, so all of these are important in this first unit because they're going to overlap and they're going to come back in other units, so we have to get them out of the way now. Okay, and they are in your Quizlet, and expect